Right now, buried in the mud of one of the busiest waterways on Earth, just a couple of miles from a town where people are asleep in their beds tonight, there is a sunken ship that no government will touch. They won't raise it. They won't empty it. They won't even let a boat get close. For over 80 years, it has been left exactly where it fell, guarded around the clock, ringed by a no-fly zone, scanned by sonar. Because everyone who has ever studied it agrees on one thing. The moment you disturb what is inside, it could go off. And if it does, some experts warn it could be the biggest non-nuclear explosion the modern world has ever seen. So why is it still there? To understand that, you need 6 pieces of the puzzle. The first piece of this puzzle lies precisely 1.5 miles off the coast of Sheerness, Kent. Here, in the shallow waters of the Thames Estuary, the fractured hull of the SS Richard Montgomery rests on the London clay seabed. It is ringed by a strict, legally enforced maritime exclusion zone, marked by a series of warning buoys that bar all unauthorized vessels, divers, and salvage teams. Above the water, a dedicated restricted airspace bans all civilian aircraft and unmanned drones below 13,000 feet. Every single hour of the day, maritime authorities use radar, CCTV, and high-definition sonar to watch the site. This continuous, multi-layered guard remains in place because scientists and military planners share a direct warning. Any physical impact, including the collapse of its own decaying masts, could trigger a sudden, catastrophic detonation that would devastate the surrounding region. The vessel carrying this volatile cargo was never designed for longevity. Laid down in Jacksonville, Florida, in March 1943, the SS Richard Montgomery was one of thousands of Liberty ships mass-produced to keep Allied supply lines open during World War II. To replace sinking merchant vessels at unprecedented speed, shipyards abandoned traditional riveting. Instead, they pioneered an all-welded hull construction that cut building times down to just a few weeks. But this speed came with a hidden physical compromise. The steel used in these hurried welds became highly brittle when exposed to cold seawater, leaving the hulls vulnerable to sudden cracking under heavy stress. Despite this structural flaw, the Montgomery completed multiple successful transatlantic voyages, carrying heavy payloads to support the Allied buildup for D-Day. Her early service proved she was a capable workhorse, hiding the structural vulnerability that would later seal her fate in the shallow waters of the Thames. In August 1944, the ship loaded its cargo at Hog Island in Philadelphia. 81 crew members boarded a vessel packed to the hatch covers. 5 holds were stuffed with over 6,000 tons of military ordnance, including thousands of general-purpose bombs, white phosphorus, and fragile fuse cases. The ship joined convoy HX-301, an armada of over 100 vessels setting out across the Atlantic. The crossing went perfectly, but the voyage went wrong in the final few miles, just inside friendly waters. As the ship entered the Thames Estuary, the Southend harbor master ordered the vessel to anchor off Sheerness. It was a severe miscalculation. At low tide, the water depth there was only 7 meters. The fully loaded cargo ship had a draft of 9 meters. As a gale began to blow, nearby British vessels realized the danger and sounded their warning sirens. It was too late. The ship ran hard aground on the sandbank, and the hull fractured across the middle. Every one of the 81 crew members survived the grounding, rescued by local vessels as the hull split. In the aftermath, rumors filled the local ports, starting a long-running legend that the captain was drinking in a Sheerness pub while his ship went down. But the official Board of Trade inquiry corrected the gossip. Records show Captain James Williams was actually asleep in his cabin when the hull struck the sand. The investigation bypassed crew errors and focused on the Great Nore anchorage, declaring the shallow berth completely unsuitable for a vessel of this size. The official findings sparked immediate finger-pointing between British and American officials, damaging the career of Southend harbor master John Dixon and leaving a legacy of shared blame. In September 1944, salvage teams began a rapid effort to unload the grounded ship, choosing a stern-first recovery strategy. Stevedores focused first on clearing the explosives from Hold 5, then moved forward to Hold 4. But this sequence created a devastating weight imbalance. As thousands of tons of cargo were lifted from the rear, the stern grew lighter, causing the heavy, flooded bow section to pivot and drop deeper into the sandbank. The hull, already weakened by the grounding, groaned under the massive structural strain. The fracture near Hold 2 widened rapidly, tearing through the steel deck plates. Within days, the ship split completely in two, the severed halves sliding apart on the London clay seabed. With the forward holds now fully submerged and highly unstable, all salvage work was permanently abandoned. The hasty rescue attempt had instead sealed the ship's fate, trapping a massive cache of high explosives inside a broken hull that was now beyond recovery. With the salvage permanently abandoned, British authorities chose a strategy of passive management. They rerouted maritime traffic around the sandbank, establishing a restricted zone that slowly normalized the hazard. Over the next 2 decades, a comforting assumption took hold among officials: the belief that seawater immersion would slowly degrade and neutralize the submerged explosives, rendering them harmless. This complacency was shattered on July 22, 1967, off the coast of Folkestone. Salvagers working on the SS Kielce, a sunken Polish munition ship carrying only a fraction of the Montgomery's cargo and lying farther from shore, attempted to clear the wreck using a small cutting charge. The blast triggered a sympathetic detonation of the cargo. The explosion registered a magnitude 4.5 on the Richter scale, carving a seabed crater 47 meters long. Onshore, more than 2 kilometers away, the shockwave shattered windows, cracked chimneys, and damaged roofs across Folkestone. The Kielce disaster proved that submerged munitions do not decay into safety. They remain volatile, unstable, and fully capable of destroying communities on dry land. The wreck of the SS Richard Montgomery rests in Britain's busiest maritime gateway. It lies less than 5 kilometers from the Isle of Grain liquefied natural gas terminal, close to major crude oil storage tanks, and directly alongside the primary shipping lanes serving the Port of London. On both sides of the estuary, coastal towns place tens of thousands of residents directly in the hazard path. Inside the flooded forward holds, the cargo presents a volatile chemical puzzle. Over 80 years underwater, seawater has reacted with the picric acid-based fuses, potentially forming highly unstable metal picrates. These compounds are dramatically more sensitive to friction, impacts, or slight movement. While official assessments downplay the immediate danger, independent models present contested worst-case scenarios: a detonation triggering a water plume thousands of meters high, tidal surges flooding the Thames basin, and billions in damage. The core threat remains this absolute uncertainty. Recent surveys warn that the 3 decaying masts could collapse directly into the cargo holds. To eliminate this trigger, a £9.5 million contract was awarded to Resolve Marine in 2026. Beginning that September, crews will build an underwater platform to cut the masts away, preserving them at Chatham Historic Dockyard. Yet this intervention only targets the visible hazard above the water. Beneath the surface, some 1,400 tons of explosives remain completely untouched. Even that figure is contested. Historical manifests suggest over 3,000 tons of munitions should still be on board. This massive discrepancy leaves an unsettling question. Either the records are wrong, or hundreds of tons of live bombs have silently drifted away into the shifting sands. The SS Richard Montgomery remains a silent, ticking paradox. We face a chilling dilemma. Is leaving this unstable wreck alone truly the safest path? Or is it a decades-long failure of decision-making? To explore more hazardous maritime secrets buried beneath the waves, subscribe now.